Hello everyone, I'm Jay Coker, Chairman of the Board of Producers Rice Mill. We're coming to you today, like we have numerous times in the past, bringing you some information that we feel like will be helpful. We're taking a little different slant today, and we're bringing you more information on actual production challenges that we have when we're growing this rice crop. Today, we're out at the University of Arkansas. We've got Jason Norsworthy. He is one of the doctorates in the weed science department. Jason's going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we've had this year, and overall what we tend to think is maybe a rice crop that has a little more grass in it than what we would like, and then why maybe we're seeing that.
Yeah, Jay, hey, thanks for having me today. And yeah, as you said, as we're taking a look at the state now, we're starting to get to the point that we're starting to head, and we're starting to see a lot of grass blow through this crop. I'm seeing a lot of barnyard grass in the crop as we go across the state. Barnyard grass and probably weedy rice would be the two most common, but barnyard grass by far is the most problematic grass that we have in this state. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And if you go back and you take a look at the crop, I think some of the issues that we've run into is we just don't do a good job of overlaying residual herbicides. If you're going to control barnyard grass or other grasses, it all starts with a good residual at planting. For us, that's really been Command. Now, a lot of our acres start with Command, but they don't overlay residual herbicides. Early post, about 2 to 3 leaf rice, 5 to 6 leaf as we're going to flood. We really need some other herbicides there, and some of the fields we weren't able to do that this summer. The other thing that I've really seen, I saw it in my research plots as well as got a lot of calls this summer, is around June 15th, we started getting in those 90, 95 degree temps. And when we start thinking about that, a lot of our chemistry just begins not to work. Things like Clincher, Ristar, Previsia, the Hi-Card in the Max Ace system, that just really doesn't work well for us once we get into 90 degree temps. And with that, we've seen a major reduction in barnyard grass control with those later applications.
Along those points, I've had some of the consultants, and when I think back on some of my own crop and some of our own fields we have problems with, there seems to be a window that a lot of guys are referring to that those herbicides seem to not work, and you're kind of explaining why we may have all of a sudden seen the results been less than satisfactory during that window. The weather variabilities that we face affects everything, and now we're seeing what a big effect it's having on our weed control and the effect of the herbicides.
Yeah, that's correct. Just looking at the work that I had, everything worked fine for us prior to June 15th, and it's like the light switch went on, and then all of a sudden things didn't work. And as I said, the phone started ringing, started getting calls about failures of the herbicide, as well as the fact we started seeing more injury. What was interesting is we saw less control of barnyard grass, but started seeing more injury on the crop once we start getting into those 90 plus temperatures. Another issue that we've really ran into, and we've seen this, I'm gonna say over the last 10, 15 years we've been following, is the fact that we have resistance. And when I say resistance, it's a resistance to a wide assortment of herbicides. And I appreciate the fact that the Arkansas Rice Research and Promotion Board funds a screening program that we have each year where growers can send in samples and we screen against Facet, Command, Roundup, things like New Path, Regiment, Propanil, herbicides that really are part of a weed control program. And what we've seen over the last several years is each year we have more and more resistance out there, and if a guy really doesn't know what's going to work and what doesn't work, if you spray the wrong herbicide, by the time you get back out there 2 weeks later, it's too late. You really don't have a chemical option to control that large grass.
So moving forward, what do you see coming on the horizon that may be of a help to the Producers Rice Mill members and the rice acreage in the Mid-South?
Jay, I'm really excited to say that, this year I had an opportunity to test 8 new herbicides, and 2 or 3 of those are new modes of action. When I say new modes of action, again, as you said, it's been the mid-80s since we actually had a new mode of action that we brought into a crop, and rice, it's probably even been longer than that. And so with that, we're standing here in front of some rice. This rice here, these are research plots, small plot research, where we're looking at conventional rice. I believe we had planted diamond here. And we have a herbicide that's coming from FMC, probably looking at 2025. It's a herbicide that has excellent barnyard grass activity pre-emergence. It has some activity post. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the greatest thing post, but it has some post. But it is the best pre-emergence herbicide I've ever seen in rice. And we always think of clomazone as being the standard, and actually I've seen the numbers. About 95 to 97% of Arkansas's rice is treated with clomazone at planting. This herbicide that I'm evaluating out here for the last several years, it's looked better than clomazone. Now, I hope that we actually can mix it with clomazone to protect this chemistry as it arrives and we don't have resistance to it, but it is very impressive as to just seeing the barnyard grass control, considering that this is a research site with severe barnyard grass populations out here.
That's good to know that there is progress being made, there is research being done, there's dollars being spent to bring new compounds. Like you say, Rice Research Promotion Board plays a big hand in some of your screening and things that our members at producers, our growers, our landowners need to be able to take advantage of and reach out to you guys and find out how to take advantage of those programs. And if they have hard to kill grasses, problem weeds, try to get those seeds at harvest and get them in your screening program. When we talk about as a producer's member, as a rice grower, whether I'm on the board, whatever, I can promise you the weed control challenges that we have and the dollars that we spend on weed control and the time and effort that goes in to trying to maintain a weed-free environment for our rice does impact our decisions on rice acres and whether we're going to grow rice in that field or how many acres of rice we're going to have. And you know, some crops don't have these challenges; they have other challenges. But believe me, it does affect rice acres. It affects the producer's mindset on where he's going to grow the rice, what he can do, what he can't do. Weed control and the success or limited success has a big impact on our acres, I believe, in the state. So Jason, we talked about the challenges we've had with the grass and hard to control weeds in rice. We start seeing them July, kind of what we call our mid to late season part of the rice growing season. They provide a host to other pests and things. In particular, one of them that really affects the quality of the rice crop, our milling yields, the rice stink bug. We've asked Dr. Nick Bateman to say a few words about what he sees, how these things work together, and what he's seeing as far as the rice stink bug and the problems it's providing to the growers.
Yeah, and you know, if you go back, Gus used to always say they named the rice stink bug wrong. It should be the barnyard grass stink bug. And I can tell you that the fields that have barnyard grass in them, when it heads, that's where stink bugs are going to go. Then they basically sit there till it plays out, and about the time it plays out, or rice goes to head and those stink bugs move on it. And you know, where we're concerned about rice stink bugs, or where I'm really concerned about them, is once we start getting some soft dough out there, so going into the 2.5 weeks or so, 3 weeks into heading, you know, that's the point where we're going to start talking about peck. That's where we're going to start reducing milling quality. You know, that early season feeding during flour and milk, there's some yield loss potential there, especially with some of the numbers we've been running this year, and especially north of 40. But the one thing that holds true every year is the peck side of it and the milling quality. You know, basically what we see, our threshold during that second 2 weeks is 1 per sweep. So it's 10 stink bugs on 10 sweeps, regardless if it's nymphs or adults. And once we start exceeding that, you know, it doesn't take very long to start getting into some milling quality issues. You know, it's pretty common, looking at some data from the past several years, if we have a constant 15 to 20 stink bugs out there during that second 2 weeks, it's pretty common to see a couple points there on the total rice and head rice. And it's pretty common to get over that 2.5%, that point at which growers are going to get docked for peck. We've submitted for a Section 18 for a product called Indigo. We were successful in that both years, and it works really well. We generally see 10 to 14 days of residual. So if we're waiting until we get to 75 to 100% headed before we spray, generally that product's going to carry us to the finish line.
That's good to know that there is, you know, something relatively new that growers seem to be getting, and research is showing that we're getting a better effect, a better kill on that. When we talk about the return to the rice farmer, the producer's rice mill member, or just the rice grower in general. Nick has referred to the milling yield. So we get basically paid on the number of whole grains. That's where we get the biggest amount of our dollars. A stink bug will discolor and cause that whole grain to break. So it's worth quite a bit more when we harvest our rice and take it to wherever you're selling it to, and they sample it. They're going to base our payments on that type formula. So it is something that's in the grower's mind. Milling yield affects a lot more than just an individual grower. It affects more than just the producer's rice mill member. The reputation, I think, a lot of times of our breeding program, our Mid-South rice crop in general is judged a lot on the quality and the milling yield, and naturally the more broken grains there are, the more expensive it is for everybody down that chain, all the way to the end user. I know our customers that purchase the milled rice and whatnot, they're always very, very concerned and wanting to know as soon as they can about what's the condition of the quality and the milling yield. So it impacts a lot of us. So I think we can probably wrap up what we kind of wanted to bring to you today. Wanted to talk about these issues that are kind of like the current issues right now during this part of the calendar for the growing season. We want to appreciate these guys. University of Arkansas is a great friend to Arkansas agriculture, especially here at Stuttgart at the Rice Research Station. Got a field day coming up that they're going to present a lot of this research. This information is also available through numerous channels on social media and through the U of A websites and things like that. So anybody wants to go back and review the things they've talked about, that's readily accessible. And we just want to appreciate the job these guys do and the research and information they bring to the growers and the members of Producers Rice Mill. It's important that we stay up to date. It's important, I think, that we get information from these guys into the hands of our growers. The better our growers can be at making the decisions to produce a better crop, the better off we all are. So with that, I want to thank these guys, and we'll get started with harvest shortly, and wish everybody good luck.